to Adam's top of the... Well, and Nell had a little more room to roam than being in a box, you know.
Well, but Nell remembers that woman that they lived with in the room. She like...
Oh, she was unlovely.
The landlady of Adam Street?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and she lived in the rest of the house.
Yeah.
And we shared the bath.
Right.
But she took care of Nell, and then another lady came, and Miss Barrett left, and this other lady took care of Nell.
Well, you were working at Montgomery Ward's.
Yeah.
You had daycare. Did they charge you for that? Or?
No.
Ah, nice.
No.
Included with the rent.
I think that they thought it was fun.
Yeah.
You know? And Miss Barrett had the most lovely china from England she had brought along with her. And she and Nell would have tea parties. And on this beautiful china, I used to just hold my breath for her.
Oh, sure.
And she was from England.
Yeah, she was from England.
Oh.
And so that was kind of an interesting little thing.
Yeah.
And then this other lady took, and then she stayed until we moved up to the shack. And the rats... But we had pack rats, and you'd not hear them during the daytime, but at night you'd hear slap, slap, slap on the...
Sounds very romantic.
I don't know if you know what comperboard is.
No.
It was sort of pre sheetrock. It was kind of like pressed wood. Pressed.
Like cardboard, like fibrous.
Like
plywood. Yeah.
I think I've seen that.
And
it's perfect for gnawing on, right? Because they could.
Yeah, well, I suppose that too, but they'd go on the ceiling, and they used to steal things from us.
Right.
And they always brought something back, which was always interesting. And finally, we found where they were getting in, and Terry took down the nest, the place where they were hauling stuff. 'Cause what happened was there was a red ribbon that they'd stolen from someplace, and it was hanging out of the place where they went in.
Yeah.
And that's how we found it. But then we just stayed there, I think, a month or so, 2 months.
Oh, that's all.
And then we moved into another house.
Still in Union.
Still in Unionville. That was a palace compared to what we'd been in.
Right.
It had three rooms, I think. Well, we stayed there. I don't remember just how long, but it wasn't too long, maybe a year.
Yeah, because the second year you said you had 19 kids.
Yes.
To teach.
Yeah, and I was pregnant, and that was not fun.
Oh, thanks. I can imagine. And these kids were like from 0 to high school age.
Yeah, I had 2 high schoolers that I did not teach them, but they came to school. They did their
Coursework.
What do you call it? Correspondence. It was from the
Yeah.
state. And, but they used to sit at the back of the room. But I had those kids from that ordinarily from...
And it was like we were talking about yesterday, the one-room schoolroom, so the kids were learning at different age levels, different material.
Yeah, it was, and it was an interesting thing. Well, then we lived in that house until the lady came up and said, I've sold the house.
Oh. So Unionville wasn't owned by one owner.
Oh,
there were
no.
all like different properties around the mine.
A lot of different people own people.
Yeah.
And why did they? From where? From the early days of mining? Were they like
it
claims?
It had been a good-sized town. Yeah, it had been a real... Whiplash Mine was one of the bigger gold mines in the state.
So lots of people came and established a town called Unionville. It really was a town. Did it have a post office when you lived there?
No. Well, then there was this house that had been the boarding house for miners, and I guess boarding house is what you'd call it. Anyway, it had a big lean-to on it where miners could stay, and then they served meals there. And that house had been just sitting there all those years, and the guy that owned it lived up the road, and he said, well, I'll rent part of it. So we rented 3 rooms out of it.
Wow.
And that's where we stayed until we bought this old, that had been I can't think of the name. Anyway, the head of the mine had this old log house. Well, and there was 2 rooms, I think.
And you guys bought it?
Yeah.
Wow.
We paid $600 for it.
Cash money, no mortgage?
Cash money.
So here you go.
You couldn't get a loan for nothing.
Oh, I see.
And, well, of course, we didn't have any money to... So, but we had... Terry's mom lent us part of the money, and we scraped up the rest of it. And we moved in there in... I think September. And Colleen was born in October.
Wow. In 1948?
Yeah. And so we decided, well, we couldn't afford to have a babysitter and so that was one thing. And then we decided that, well, I'd stay home and take care of the family.
It's too bad they didn't realize at that point, because they should have. Should have. She should have been able to come to work.
Who?
Colleen.
And Nell?
Nell was already in school.
Oh, okay.
Nell started school when she was 4 years old.
Oh, yeah, so
she was already in the school, but just being able to care for the baby while you did school, I think you should be able to do that.
Yeah, I like that.
In that time especially, but even now they say that.
Well, most places wouldn't hire even a married woman.
Yeah, that's right. You had to be Miss So-and-so and no dating while teaching. No.
If you've ever read Winter Wheat, it's a good book. But Mildred Walker wrote it.
Oh.
It certainly brings out how people were so... It's about a one-room teacher down by Wolf Point in that area, but it's a good book.
People wanted their teachers to be female and pure, unattached.
Yep.
I don't know why that should be. It's kind of odd. But then,
it's
when
weird,
did you...
like when I can't remember his name. Dick hired me to go down to Peru. That he was just going for the opposite of what they'd been requiring. No, we're just getting teaching couples.
Oh wow, teaching couples.
Mm-hmm. You had to be married. You had to be this. They didn't want any of those loose.
Were you able to sell that place when you guys came here?
Huh?
Did you sell the house in Unionville when you moved to Tway Falls?
Yeah.
And somebody bought it.
How much did you buy it? Sell it for?
Huh?
How much did you sell it for?
I think we sold it for $600.
Oh.
That's even money.
I can't remember for sure. But we had added on. So we had, we'd added on and...
Well, then you should have sold it for more.
I don't think so. I think we were lucky at that time to get
Just because all those places had been bought up and then people were starting to move into town and things, or what?
Well, I don't remember all the details, but then we moved into this house, but then we put on this addition that was bedrooms. We had, our bedroom was downstairs and the kids' bedroom was upstairs.
And then you guys moved here in 52?
54.
Oh, so that was a long time.
Yeah, we lived there 8 years.
Yeah, and in Unionville.
Yeah.
Wow.
I loved it.
Huh.
I loved Unionville.
Why?
It was so friendly. Everybody was in the same boat. Didn't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of.
Right. Like all post-war blues. Nowhere to live, no loans given.
No.
I'm lucky to have a job.
You're very lucky to have a job.
Yeah.
And all of those guys coming home one time at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, it was... But we had a wonderful experience, had wonderful people.
Yeah, and so those kids, the kids of Unionville must all be like Nell and Colleen and Maureen's age.
Yeah, and Colleen and Maureen was born in 51.
Yeah.
And we moved here in 54.
So just you and Sean were born to Great Falls, really? And were they all hospital births? Those first three kids were all born in hospital now?
Yep.
Maureen and Colleen.
Yeah.
Wow.
My mom, when she was born the last of the breed, she said nobody knew. Her mother was 50 when she was born.
50?
Yeah. And she was the 17th child. And
17? No wonder you talk about so many uncles and aunts.
Right. And she said, well, when I was born, it was a big surprise. And I'm like, how could a pregnancy, be a big surprise? And she said, well, my mother was a very large woman. So one Sunday, she just lay down. And then my grandfather must have said something to the older boys, like, call the midwife. And they're like, call the midwife? And out she came. Everyone went back to reading the paper, I guess. Just the way that went.
My good God.
Well, I think that I've tired you out enough. That was kind of